The buzz from 2015 remains in Ann Arbor. It centers around the resurgence of the Michigan football team. The expectations have always been high, but the direction wandered until last year. The excitement bubbles over on this first day of April. On a crisp Friday night, a sneak peek at the loaded 2016 Michigan Wolverines, the annual spring game, and the first time on a Friday night, and it comes your way only here on the Big Ten Network. Hi, everyone. It's a beautiful night for any kind of sport, but especially football here as Jim Harbaugh brings his club out for a 2016 preview team, if you will, and last year was pretty special for people around here. Harbaugh comes back in his first year at his alma mater and boasts a 10-3 record. He opened up a proverbial can on Florida in the Citrus Bowl. He had 3 wins over top 25 teams and finished with a number 11 ranking. Those numbers right there also very gaudy. His energy, his expectations have taken root here in Ann Arbor. And no one can speak to that better than my partner, who has high expectations and played under high expectations as a 2-time All-Big Ten selection, a first-team All-American. And John Jansen, while here at Michigan, had a school record 50 straight starts. He was a 2-time captain, and as a senior, recorded a 106 pancake blocks, and look at him lead the Victors in a national championship locker room in 1997. He joins us here. It always gives you goosebumps. I don't care how long you played in the NFL and for how many teams, that video has to give you goosebumps.
It does, and I can give you a little rendition of the Victors right now if you guys want.
Can you clear your throat a little bit?
Yeah, I'm all ready to go. But I tell you what, I'm excited because it was supposed to be a little bit rainy tonight. We've got a beautiful night, and we get a chance to see the maize and blue out here in the big house. And it's just one of those nights. It's one of those times where every time you come in here, it's exciting, and it's fun to be able to see these young kids grow up. And this is our first look at this team.
I love tagging along with this guy because everywhere he goes in this building, in this city, people know him. Earlier today, you had a chance to visit with a lot of former Michigan players. Is the buzz created by Jim Harbaugh and what that team did last year still resonating?
Absolutely, and you know, not only has Jim, united the players on the team, he's united former players. We've got a handful of former guys, and when I say a handful, we've got probably 75 to 100 former guys here at the game today. He's united those guys, and anytime you get a chance to go to Schembechler Hall, you see these guys practice. When the former guys come out, as a guy who saw former players come to practice, it excites you. I mean, you get a chance to, Grant Newsome, I don't know if I mean anything to him, but I know when somebody who was number 77 came into the building, it meant a lot to me, and it got me excited. So it's fun to have all of those guys back in, and just the energy around what's going on with Michigan football right now is awesome.
At this time a year ago, we were talking about the quarterback position. We thought it was an open competition. Jake Rudock seized the moment and had a spectacular season. This year, there is still questions. Who is number 1 at the quarterback spot?
Yeah, and you're right there. You get a chance to take a look at Shane Moores, who's had some starts here in the maize and blue, and thrown probably more passes than anybody right now. John O'Korn, number 8, has the most experience. Now his experience comes at Houston, but he's got the most started games on the roster, and that right there, in my opinion, gives him a huge advantage over these other two. But the third guy in this equation, Wilton Speight, came in last year and won a huge game in Minnesota, had never completed a pass in college football, and is able to go out and win that football game. That gives Jim Harbaugh a lot of confidence that, hey, I don't care what happens, this guy has nerves of steel.
Yeah. Bullet points out to each one of these guys. Speight probably has that efficiency. Morris has that big arm. O'Korn has that athleticism. He can flat out run, there's no doubt. So while there are questions there at the quarterback spot, there are no questions in the defensive backfield. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, the linebacker spot. They lost a ton of experience from that position a year ago. It's going to be a clean slate at the linebacker spot. spot this year.
Yeah, and when you take a look at this defense, they're strong up front, they're strong in the secondary, and they're going to steal some talent from that secondary. You get a good look here at Jabril Peppers. They're moving him down to that linebacker spot. 70% of his plays during the spring have been at that linebacker position. They want the most talented guys to be in a position where they're going to be able to make plays. And in this Don Brown defense, that linebacker is the one that's going to be that guy that's going to be dropping into pass coverage, rushing the passer, getting out into the flats.
Don Brown, the new defensive coordinator, says he is a dynamic athlete. We've got to take advantage of all the skill set that he possesses for this club. Last year, the 5 offensive linemen for this Michigan club started every single game. That won't happen this season coming into the year, but they do have a lot of experience coming back.
They do, and they've got 4 guys that have started last year back. One of those guys, Mason Cole, is going to move from the left tackle position where he's played such a true freshman both years. He's moving to that center position, which in my opinion is his natural position. He's been done a great job at tackle, but he's moving down into center. Grant Newsome, who's number 77, my namesake, or number's sake, is going to take over at that left tackle spot. Young guy, we're going to get a chance to see, is he ready for the big leagues?
Will he be able to seize that moment? Because there are some young guys that are still coming in that Jim Harbaugh and company want to see as well. Plenty to come here on the Big Ten Network. Jake Butt is an absolute monster at the tight end. John O'Korn tries to show off his wares. So does Shane Morris and Amari Darbo. Plenty of storylines here on the Big Ten Network when we return to Ann Arbor after this. BTN Plus, available on BTN to go. Subscribe to BTN Plus and gain access to hundreds of non-televised games. Then enjoy them on more platforms wherever you go. Get BTN Plus now, available on BTN to go. Moments away between the maize and the blue here on Big Ten Network, alongside former Michigan All-American and 2-time captain John Jansen. I'm Matt Shepard. I know John likes to focus on the offensive for good reason. You were a mauler. You like to move the football on the ground, but this Michigan defense was stellar. Among the best in the country and in a lot of significant categories from a year ago. And they got a lot of guys coming back. That should encourage a lot of Wolverine fans.
They got a lot of guys coming back, and they brought in a defensive coordinator with the top defense in the country as well, and Don Brown at BC. So they've got a lot of things going for them. They're going to have Jabril Peppers. They're going to be moving him all over the place, taking him to a linebacker spot. They're going to have one of the best secondaries, even without Jabril Peppers. Jordan Lewis, DeMonte Thomas, Jimmy Clark, Delano Hill, all of those guys are going to allow Jabril to be able to move around the field, play at corner, play at safety, play at linebacker, even put his hand in the dirt a little bit. And then you talk about one of the best D lines in college football, starting with Chris Wormley, Taco Charlton, Mo Hurst. You get a guy back in the name of Brian Monet, who missed all of last season with that ankle injury, and now all of a sudden you've got this great defense up front, you've got this great defense in the secondary, and today we're going to get a chance to look at how are they going to fill in for the losses they had at linebacker.
And depth. You know, you were talking about the starters coming back in for good reason, but as you mentioned, Monet, one of those guys who really helps with the depth of this club. Jabril Peppers was a second-team All-American a year ago. He was first-team All-Big Ten, freshman of the year in this conference. He does so many different things well. You want him on the field as much as you possibly can, don't you?
And I think you're going to see him on the field more than you don't, because he's going to be on the field on offense. He's going to be on the field on defense, special teams. He's going to have the opportunity to make plays. Now he has to go out and do it.
Don Brown gets the opportunity to coach him and put him in a lot of different schemes. He's downstairs on the field with our Sue-Ann Robeck.
All right, thanks a lot. Coach, the guys were just talking about Jabril Peppers and the move that you made to move him to linebacker. What was your biggest motivating factor to do that?
Well, you know, we play, our Sam position's probably more of a hybrid than it is a true linebacker. So it's a guy with multiple talents. He certainly fit the bill. And besides that LB position, we've given him a number of jobs as well. But if I tell you about those jobs, then I got to kill you. So we're not going to do that.
What have you been trying to implement here in your short time that you've been here already?
Just, you know, playing solid, you know, run stuff in defense. We're basing out of a 4-3. But also getting the guys to understand our concepts on the back edge and how it ties into the front. And they've really embraced it. They've done a great job with it. And you know, looking forward to moving forward as we finish spring.
For all those Wolverine fans out there tonight who are watching this, who else should they keep an eye on who has impressed you so far this spring?
Well, you know, there's a number of guys. Mike McCray has certainly stepped up, and we really needed him to do that. Mike Roboleski as a backup, young Devin Bush. Those would probably be the young the linebackers to kind of focus on. All the household names: Jay Lou, Delano Hill, DeMonte Thomas, Stribner. All those guys have really done a nice job. And up front, if I singled one of them out, I'd feel like, you know, I'm making a mistake, because I think a lot of those guys are pretty good up front.
Is there any certain area that you're going to keep an eye on tonight that you're concentrating on, that you want to see?
Well, you know, we're trying to develop depth. We graduated 5 senior linebackers, so we're trying to develop depth at linebacker and kind of manage playing time. And we fought through a couple injuries here of late, so it could get interesting as the game moves forward.
How excited are you to see how the guys perform tonight?
Oh, I'm just excited to let them go. You know, go play, let it rip, and they deserve to. They've been absolutely great for 14 practices.
Coach, we're looking forward to it, and we appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Don Brown said Jabril Peppers is a sharp dude. He's fun to work with. He's got juice, and that gets you excited to get to work every single day. We're excited to bring you the spring game. We'll watch Peppers in his new role. Hopefully he has the same results of a year ago, and that guy might be the best corner in America. Stay with us on BTN.
Throws deep. That ball is caught. What a catch by Darboh.
J.U. Chesson, the opening kickoff, all the way home in the big house.
Sudfeld will throw it. End zone. Batted around. It falls incomplete. Michigan survives.
BTN will be leaving Ann Arbor to go live to the Men's Gymnastics Championships. Continued coverage of the Michigan Spring Game will be on BTN to go. And championships, of course, start in the spring. Our guys deliver the latest on position battles, on interviews, and a breakdown of on-field action. The Big Ten Spring Football Report debuts next Saturday at 6 on BTN and BTN to go. Welcome back alongside John Jansen. I'm Matt Shepard, just about ready to kick things off here. Michigan does have plenty of experience. 14 returning starters on the two sides of the ball combined, but there are some young guys who've checked into school early. They've left high school. They have graduated high school early, checked in January to be part of this event and this situation to try and get the jump on everybody else. And there's some exciting guys to follow, isn't there?
There's 7 guys that should be getting ready for their senior prom, but they forgoed that opportunity to come here and be a part of this spring game. And when you talk about the job that Jim Harbaugh has done in recruiting, Rashawn Gary is one of those guys that is the #1 player in the country. And I remember, I wasn't the #1 player in the country, but this is me as a freshman coming in next to a good friend of mine, Tom Wozniak.
You were small.
I was small. I'm actually the same weight now as I was then.
Really?
I swear to you. That was my goal when I turned 40. But, you know, you look down at that bug. It's called the Har bug right now.
This guy's not small at all. This is the #1 recruit in the country. Jim Harbaugh reeled him in. And Rashawn Gary's going to play, folks. I mean, he's going to be a true freshman. He is here to watch this game. And out of Paramus, New Jersey, he's going to play. Another freshman you would expect to play is the #1 tailback in the country, and that is Kareem Walker.
Yeah, and these guys are going to be looking for that running back, that second running back. Davion Smith is going to be #1. Is it going to be Drake Johnson? Is it going to be Kareem Walker? Is it going to be Ty Isaac? He has the opportunity to step in there and be special early on, and we'll see if he takes advantage of that opportunity.
Walker over 4,500 yards in his rushing career. Carlo Kemp is a guy who's going to not be a linebacker, but they're going to move him down. It looks like they're going to put him in a 4-point and maybe come off the edge a little bit, John.
And we've both seen him at practice, and he's one of those guys that you can't believe the size of these guys as they're coming in as 18-year-old kids. I mean, right now, Carlo Kemp is going to be down, and they're going to be pushing for Devin Bush to step into that linebacker position. It's one of those positions where, yeah, they've got a lot of talent up front. They've got a lot of talent in the secondary. Who's going to step into that linebacker position? And Devin Bush could be one of those guys.
Carlo Kemp, by the way, is the nephew of Chuck Pagano, And there's a reason he fits in with Michigan. It's not just because of his ability to play on the field, but also because of his ability to compete in the classroom. A 4.0 every year in high school. We're ready to go. It's going to be the Maize team, dressed in white, kicking off to the blue team. And the man doing the duties here is Kenny Allen, the fifth-year senior from Fenton, Michigan. Another area that Michigan will have to shore up a little bit. Drake Johnson is back deep for the blue team.
When you talk about the something that is so special is the special teams, and we know from last year how important they can be in every single game. And you're getting a chance to look at something here that you don't necessarily see at a Michigan game. If you can hear it on your speakers, we got a little concert going on here right before kickoff. So a lot of fun here with the fans. A great night to be out here at Michigan Stadium. I don't know, Matt, what do you think? There's probably about 35, 40,000 people here.
35,000. Yeah, I think that's a good call. Jim Harbaugh has told us he wants this to be as close to a true game simulation as possible. There's going to be hitting out there big time, but especially on quarterbacks. That's something to take note of. So Allen tees it up at the 35. Drake Johnson waits for it just inside his 5. And the annual spring game is underway here on the Big Ten Network. Johnson gets to the 20. They're really going to just do that for exercise purposes only. There's not going to be any hitting on the special teams. They want the offense to battle the defense and slug it out here.
Yeah, special teams, there can be some violent hits when you start with a 40-yard dash and get a chance of running start at somebody. So they're going to take away that risk of injury here in the 15th practice of spring football. And now we're going to get a chance to take a look at what we can see from a Michigan offense, and what we're going to get a look at is this Don Brown Michigan defense.
John O'Korn gets the first nod for the blue team. Threw for over 3,100 yards a couple of years ago as a true freshman at Houston. 28 touchdowns as well. Athletic, and they'll run double tight. Michigan does this a lot with the tight ends, and Drake Johnson gets the first call on the ground for a pickup of a couple. Michigan might be the only team in the country last year, John, that ran 4 tight end sets at one time.
And they got the personnel to do it again this year. You know, you're talking about a great opportunity for young guys. Tyrone Wheatley Jr. has had a tremendous spring, so we'll see him at tight end. Zach Gentry, former quarterback, moving to tight end. We'll get a chance to talk about him a little bit more later. And again, another freshman, early enrollee, Sean McKeon.
O'Korn, another give to Johnson, and he's dragged down from behind. And that's a key point right there. We want to keep an eye on the defensive line. It's one of the strengths of this team. Maurice Hurst in on the tackle, 73 in white.
What I'm going to be looking for out of both offenses today, you know, you get in a situation like that, and there's a handoff in the backfield. What type of movement are we getting up front? Are they creating running lanes for the back? When is the back making his cut? Is he able to make it in the line of scrimmage? And right there, not exactly how I'd want to start off the spring game, but we'll see if they can improve throughout the day.
O'Korn on a third down situation. Last year, Michigan 17th in the country. Here's the run we were talking about, his ability to run the football, slide, and get the first down to the 42-yard line.
And I like his awareness. He knew exactly what yardage he had to get to before he would slide and get that first down. You don't want to slide a yard short and end up with a 4th and 1. So he does a good job of getting in there, setting back, understanding what the play is called, and knowing exactly how far he has to get that first down. He picks it up. Something
Jake Rudock did very effectively a year ago. Rudock last year, number 2 all-time in a single season in completions, number 4 in attempts, number 2 in yards. Only John Navarre had more. 1st and 10 for O'Korn on the first possession. Good protection, and he slings it out on a nice grab by Henry Poggi, the senior from Baltimore, who came in as a defensive end, played H-back a year ago.
And what I want to see from O'Korn right now, and I think what Jim Harbaugh is looking for is, I want to see the quarterback that can be the most patient. Not, you know, yeah, we want to take our shots downfield, but I want to see, can he spread the ball around? Can he spread the defense out and not make mistakes? We're going to be a team that's going to be in good positions because we have a great defense. So let's go out there and not create problems for ourselves by making mistakes at the quarterback position.
Johnson tries the left side. Got a nice kick out block by Kyle Kalis and close to the 50-yard line. Well, it's interesting. interesting about the quarterback spots, Jim Harbaugh says they're all in the mode of making a big mistake a day, but strides are being made. And he's excited about today because it'll be a good-sized task going up against this U of M defense that will give them a ton of different looks and blitzes.
Yeah, and you talked about it early on. This is all live, so the quarterback is live. He can be hit. He will be hit if need be. So a great job on that last play there. Drake Johnson stretching the edge. It's something that he has done so well throughout his career here at Michigan.
Drake Harris is split wide to the right. Watch for him. Another scramble by O'Korn. Wiggles his way for a first down to the 45-yard line. Tackle made by Ben Gideon from behind, the senior from Hudson, Ohio.
John O'Korn doing a good job understanding his reads, knowing that it's not there, and then finding, instead of that passing lane, it becomes a running lane for him. And he picks up the first down again.
Is he giving it enough time? Is he giving an offensive lineman enough time to create the pocket they desire?
He is, because what he did there is that's supposed to be a three-step quick drop, get the ball out of your hands. It's not there. Go ahead and tuck it and run it. And he did a good job of making that decision quickly.
Stacked formation to his left. He looks that way. Slings it out, and it's incomplete. Actually intended there for Shane Morris.
Intended for Shane Morris.
Got to get these quarterbacks. You got them all on the field at one time. Let's see if we can throw them out there. But covered well by DeMonte Thomas, and a good choice by John O'Korn of throwing that ball somewhere where only your other quarterback friend, Shane Morris, could catch it.
And Morris will stay in there at the quarterback spot. You mentioned his experience. A couple of games started for Michigan. He's played in 10 games. His first career start was at the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl back in 2013. He'll throw it on the run and incomplete. It's a little high for Ian Bunting. We talk about the tight ends. Big time depth at that position. Bunting, one of those guys who should be a factor this year.
Yeah, and they're all vying for who's going to be that number 2 tight end behind Jake Buck. Ian Bunting doing a good job of getting into the flat and then following your quarterback. And the only thing I would have liked to have seen him there is, yeah, that's where the route goes, but at some point you have to put your foot in the ground and either come back to your quarterback, make it an easier throw for him. That's a very tough throw to make over the top of a defender to a tight end running away from you.
So Morris sits down. And O'Korn back in. On a quick curl route, caught at the 40-yard line. Good coverage there, though, by Jeremy Clark. He's the fifth-year senior out of Madisonville, Kentucky, and Don Brown singled him out earlier this year, said Clark has been solid, and on sheer improvement, he's probably one of those guys among the most improved.
Yeah, and that's exciting because he had a pretty good year last year, and Jeremy Clark, and that's part of the reason why this defensive secondary is so deep and why they can move Jabril Peppers around and play him at a linebacker position, because they're covered in the secondary.
There's a fourth down situation and somebody jumped. Which side will get the flag thrown, though?
Good use of cadence by John O'Korn there, knowing he needs 5 yards for that first if this is on the defense.
Don Brown isn't happy, but John O'Korn and the Wolverine offense sure are. They get a chance to move the chains yet again. The nose of the football to the 35 of Mays.
And that's 3 first downs that John O'Korn has been able to pick up, 2 with his feet and 1 just with the cadence there. So using all the tools in his tool bags right now.
In the end, though, eventually you want to see him spin it a little bit. He's going to have to throw the football to be effective.
He is, but right now they're developing a little bit of a rhythm, and you know that we're only 4 series into this game, so let's get down to that 35-yard line and look for him to start stretching the field just a little bit and test that secondary.
Drake Johnson is the deep back in a double tight set. Michael Jose and in motion in the slot to the left. Good pocket for O'Korn, scrambled out of it and get back to the line of scrimmage. Another tackle, this time Lawrence Marshall, the junior from Southfield, Michigan.
Lawrence Marshall did a great job of stepping in when Brian Monet and some other guys went down last year, played solid. Tracking back to the quarterback. for the sack. Well, he got back to the line of scrimmage, so I don't think they'll actually clarify it as a sack, but a good job of tracking back on the quarterback. On that one, I would have liked to have seen John O'Korn hold onto that ball and hold that pocket just a touch longer.
Shotgun formation. O'Korn wants to throw. Pressure comes. Miller chasing him, and down he goes at the 41-yard line. Mike McCray, you heard the interview earlier in our broadcast where Don Brown said Mike McCray has made a big jump, and he has really stepped up.
Well, the disappointing part there is just the fact that the pressure was applied so quickly. You know, there's a missed assignment up front. A lot of pressure on those guys up front to come through and play well this year. They've got a lot of experience coming back. 4 starters returning on that offensive line.
3rd and 16 for O'Korn. He's going to go deep. He wants Drake Harris. He's got a step and a nice grab at about the 11-yard line or so. Boy, he adjusted nicely to the football against Kenny Sloss.
Drake Harris is one of those guys that we've been talking about for 3 years now, and he's going to be vital. And you can see he clearly gets his foot down. A good job of both quarterback in terms of the position of that ball, hitting the sideline, and Drake Harris bringing that ball in, getting his feet down, making a completion. All-stater in basketball and football at Grand Rapids Christian. A lot of buildup with him coming into Michigan. Pickup of 30 on the play. Now on the ground here, Drake Johnson tried to bounce it out, then forced to cut it back inside, but creeps inside the 10. Johnson gives you that little burst. You know, the 5th-year senior last year, 271 yards, 4 touchdowns, but he runs really hard. You know, I mean, you love the second effort that he gives. I love the second effort, and I love his vision. He's got great vision out there. We saw last year a couple of times where he would throw a spin move, or he would cut back, or he would stick his foot in the ground and just make a good cut where he had that sense where there was a feel where there's not anybody there, and just a good feel for what the offense is trying to get done. John O'Korn didn't like what he saw, so he calls a timeout. He had Shane Morris back in at wide receiver. It'll be interesting to see how much they try to go to Drake Harris, who wears 14 in blue. At 6'4", $181, with his athleticism, his speed. He ran a 4.440 coming here to Michigan. You would think they would try to take advantage of him as much as possible. Another guy who threw some passes and had good speed coming here to Michigan, Devin Gardner, the former quarterback, is with Suann Roback down on the sideline. Suann?
Thanks, guys. He sure did. Devin, you know, we're talking about the quarterbacks because they always get a lot of attention. You know that the guys are competing for the starting job. What advice would you give to the guys who are trying to get that starting spot?
The biggest thing would be to block out the noise, because me and Denard went through the same similar situation. I sent them all a text just to let them know that you can't let the outside noise, you know, pin you against each other, because you two or you three are going to be the big thing that makes you guys better. So it'd be great to have great guys that can compete and win no matter what. So it's good to have a good backup. You know, Denard and me, you know, we had a good time doing it. And even Tate back when he was here.
We only had a chance so far to see John O'Korn, but what are your early impressions of what you've seen of him?
I like John. You know, I met John a little while back at the Manning Passing Academy, and it was always fun getting a chance to meet a guy, a brother in Christ, and he's a good player, man. He's a gamer, and I like the way he plays.
As always, I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot, Devin.
Appreciate you. Go Blue.
Big time pressure on that play action pass. That a little bit of a trickery there as they tried to connect with Eric Magnuson. Not exactly the guy you'd expect to be on the receiving end of that pass at 6'6", 305. But it's interesting off Devin Gardner, what he was just saying. Jed Fish, who is the head coach of the Blue and the quarterback's coach, he said everything is based, John, on understanding shot selection. Whatever sport you're playing, you have to understand shot selection. Whatever it might be, that's where the evolution, development, and growth comes from. It's interesting. You can use that to a lot of different sports. Morris comes in motion with O'Korn under center. Bobbled it a little bit. Here's a double pass. And he's got a man wide open. Touchdown, Blue. Drake Johnson.
Well executed. You had to know with Shane Morris in there for a few reps at wide receiver that they were setting him up for something, and they got a little bit sleepy. They throw it out in the flat to Shane Morris. and Drake Johnson just scooches into that end zone, and he's all alone. Sometimes the hardest pass to make is when you see a guy completely wide open, nobody around him, and you just kind of loft it out there. But he did a good job of putting it on him there.
And sometimes that's the hardest pass to catch, isn't it, John?
There's no question. Drake Johnson there should have called for a fair catch.
It's a nice throw from Shane Morris, and the Blue takes the early lead. Championships start in the spring. Our guys deliver the latest in position battles, in interviews, and a breakdown of the on-field action. The Big Ten Spring Football Report debuts next Saturday at 6 Eastern on BTN and BTN to go. Can't get enough football, can we? No way. So a nice and impressive drive engineered by John O'Korn.
Yeah, and what I like about that drive is the fact that the first 2 first downs were picked up by John O'Korn, making a good decision, tucking the ball, knowing where that first down yardage is, picking up the first down. And then he even picks up a first down by the use of the cadence, a hard cadence, draws the defense off sides. He gets a free 5 yards on a third down. And you know, just a good job of managing the offense, taking a shot to Drake Johnson when he hit, I'm sorry,
Drake Harris.
Drake Harris, when needed, picked up a big play, and then all of a sudden gets him in the end zone.
Well, the key was converting on those third downs, as you mentioned. They went 4 for 5 on third downs. And then, of course, on fourth down, they got the drawn offsides. But you go 4 for 5 on third downs, keeping the drive alive, just doing what you can so you can gain some type of rhythm. And that's what John O'Korn and the Wolverine Blue offense were able to do. We mentioned last year, Michigan so effective on third downs at 46%, 17th best in the country. Andrew David with a kickoff. And Grant Perry will watch it wobble out of bounds.
That's not what you want to see in a spring game. You don't want to see that in any game, but you know, there should be enough focus that you don't kick the ball out of bounds and give the opposing team the ball on the 35-yard line. We'll see what Harbaugh decides to do, Coach Harbaugh, as to where he places the ball. And I think he is. I think he's going to force him back. To the 35. I mean, that's part of the game. If you kick the ball out of bounds on a kickoff, that's a penalty, so go ahead and enforce it.
Jim Harbaugh said this: I think we're a better team than we were at this time a year ago. We're a better athletic team, really good awareness. You would expect that in year 2. They understand things, coaches and terminology, a little bit more effectively.
No question. The quarterbacks should be much more comfortable, receivers with the routes, and we'll get a chance to take a look at Wilton Speight here at quarterback.
They start on the ground with Ty Isaac, the senior from Charlotte, Illinois, and he's dropped for a loss. I thought Speight, you and I were practiced the other day, Speight looked really good. I thought number 3 in white is a guy who has changed his throwing motion from the time he first got here. He brings some efficiency, but he's got a pretty good size arm too.
He does, and I like him. I like the way he's comfortable in the pocket. And when it comes down to it, just like all the other quarterbacks, it comes down to decision making.
See what he does here with pressure on him, going deep down the sideline. Grant Perry is there, out of bounds. Hung up in the air a little bit more than I'm sure Speight would have liked, and pretty darn good coverage by Keith Washington downfield as well.
Those are some of the plays that will separate guys. I think Wilton Speight would probably like to have that one back. He had to step up in the pocket just a touch, which made him a little bit late, and he pushed that ball a little bit. And even if that ball had been caught, it still would have been out of bounds.
Mays with 4 seconds remaining in this first quarter on a third down and long for Wilton Speight, the junior from Richmond, Virginia. Played 7 games a year ago. And will throw on the run as they move the pocket for him. Slings it out. Nice grab. He got all the way to the sticks, and Perry hauled it in to move the chains. That's a good piece of receiving right there to make sure you go past the sticks and then come back for the curl route. And Michigan gets a first down for the Maize Cleave, but they're down a touchdown. A little trickery from the Blue as O'Korn finds Shane Morris, who eventually finds Drake Johnson. It's 7-0 Blue here on Big Ten Network. Registration is now open for the 2016 BTN Big 10K. Represent your Big Ten school on August 6th in Chicago. The 10K and 5K races include a post-race tailgate with mascots, cheerleaders, food, and more. Register today at www.btnbig10k.com. John O'Korn piloted Michigan's blue team on its first possession to a touchdown. And that's where we stand right now, although he didn't throw the touchdown pass.
No, he just
Backup
orchestrated
Shane
the drive.
Morris did, but Morris did it as a wide receiver. So Jedd Fisch dipping into the bag of tricks, and now Wilton Speight and the Mays offense trying to move the football on a 2nd down and 7 with an offset eye behind him. That's Perry in motion. And they're going to flip it to him. And a block on the edge. And close to a 1st down. Not a bad block by the freshman, Amir Mitchell. John talked of the freshman earlier, and Mitchell is one of those big frame wide receivers at 6'3", 205. Folks, you're going to like this kid. He can get it done. A 4-star prospect out of Egg Harbor City, New Jersey.
I'm enjoying the fact that we're starting to see some of those wide receivers step up and play well. We saw Drake Harris make a big play, Amir Mitchell, Grant Perry, who we saw a little bit last year. There's an open battle for that number 3 wide receiver spot.
You better be able to block, not just catch passes in this offense. Speight handles a low snap. Perry, his go-to guy for a 1st down. Speight trying to do what John O'Korn did on the last series, leading his team to a touchdown. And Perry had a really nice season a year ago. And this is what O'Korn did. 4 for 5 on 3rd downs, a couple times with his feet.
And he did a good job of spreading the ball around. He was good with the location, and good with his accuracy, and good with his decision making. And I think that, in my opinion, Jim Harbaugh was looking more at decision making than he is anything else.
On the ground, Isaac bounced into the outside, pushing it past the numbers, and then pushed out of bounds by Jabril Peppers, but not before Ty Isaac got inside the 15-yard line.
Ty Isaac, one of the guys that kind of fell off the depth charts at the end of last season, showing why he was such a special recruit. Transfer from USC, getting a good haul. Honestly, that doesn't necessarily show his talent. He was just running through a semi-sized hole.
Yeah, but that little shoulder shake on Peppers got him that extra 7-8 yards, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't
you
give
always
him that
want to
extra
give love to the big guys up front, and you should. You're right.
Well, and I'm saying that because right now we're taking a look at an offensive line with Mason Cole at center,
right,
and Grant Newsome there at left tackle. So I'm keeping a close eye on seeing how Mason Cole does at that center position.
Underneath route, Jake Butt, he will waltz in to tie it up. Oh, is he good? He was wide open, but that kid right there is going to play at the next level and do it as an early draft pick, too.
Yeah, and there's no doubt he'll be playing at the next level. But Tim Drevno, you get a quick look at him, our offensive coordinator. Jake Butt starts off on the right and just slides across the formation, gets lost by the linebackers, by the secondary, and again walks in the end zone. This, you know, I did expect our offenses to both be improved, and they're doing a great job of spreading the ball around. Both quarterbacks have done a good job, but I tell you what, Don Brown's got to be a little bit disappointed in how both defenses right now have played.
Well, you cannot be disappointed in Jake Butt, though. I mean, this is a guy, and Jim Harbaugh mentioned this. He said bold actions have come from a guy like Jake Butt. I mean, he's a guy who's really seemed to step forward and take control of this team. Look at what he did a year ago. The 51 catches, by the way, second most by a Michigan tight end in single-season history. Only Benny Joppru had more. The 654 yards, third most by a Michigan tight end in a single season. Only Devin Funchess, playing for Carolina now, and the great Jim Mandich had more.
Well, and Jake obviously had the opportunity and the decision to make this past season. Do I go to the NFL and forego my senior year or come back? I'm glad he decided to come back. He was going to be a good draft pick, but there is no chance. It's not like the NFL where you can come out of retirement, and most guys don't have that opportunity. You can't come back. Once you declare, you can't come back. So he sat down and thought about it for a little bit and said, you know what, I want my senior year at Michigan. I want another year under Coach Harbaugh. If I can do that, maybe I can move up in the draft even more.
Well, the tight ends in this offense are so important for Jim Harbaugh. And they combined for 72 catches, 926 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, that is more than just a weapon, John Jensen. I mean, those guys are deep, big-time threats. And nobody is better than Jake Butt. A Mackey semifinalist, the Big Ten tight end of the year, an All-American.
Well, tight ends will make your quarterback that much better, to have the confidence that you can dump it down to a guy like Jake Butt.
Drake Johnson has to hustle up, grab it just shy of the 10. BTN will be leaving Ann Arbor to go live to the men's gymnastics championships. Continued coverage of our Michigan spring game will be on BTN to go, but we invite you to watch the men's gymnastics championship. Should be exciting as always. We will rerun this Michigan spring game in its entirety at 9:30 Eastern later on today. They'll mark the ball at the 30-yard line. At the 30-yard line, the blue team will take over.
And if you want to keep watching us live, you can catch us at 7 o'clock on BTN to go.
Shane Morris trots out to lead the offense. The senior from Hazel Park, went to De La Salle High School. To the fullback, Bobby Henderson.
Out of all the quarterbacks, I think, having watched Shane last year, the year before, and now this spring, I think in the last 14 practices, he has made the biggest jump out of quarterbacks. You know, I mean, we've seen John O'Cord, and we know that he's had experience. He can complete the pass, and has done a good job. Well, Spate has made, you know, great strides as well. But I think Shane Morris, in my opinion, looks more comfortable than he ever has. He's done a great job of going through his reads and finding that receiver that's open. I think he's just made the greatest strides out of all the quarterbacks.
Inside give to, again, Henderson, the 5th-year senior from Hopewell Junction, New York. Academic All-Big Ten selection a year ago. And you talk about a guy who's built for football. He's played the other sports that allow you to do that. Played some hoops, but he also played hockey and lacrosse in high school. You got that mix. Football coaches love that type of mix from their fullback, don't they?
All contact sports.
Yep.
And that includes basketball.
Nope. No wallflower to play those sports, that's for sure. 3rd and short. Johnson can't bounce it to the outside. Smothered there on a nice play coming up. Tyree Cannell.
Brought down by Mike McCray.
Great job of the defense filling gaps, and as part of what that Don Brown team is going to do, you get a chance to get in there, fill gaps, and don't give the running backs any room or any options to make a cut.
You got to get a love to some Mike McCray, too, because he was in on that tackle along with Cannell. Cannell, the sophomore from Huber Heights, Ohio, coming out of Wayne High School, the number 10 safety in the country. Perry drifting to his right, lets it bounce inside the 30 and out of bounds. So we're tied at 7 with the Blue and the Maize. And Grant Perry, who had such a good year a year ago, might be catching passes from that man, Brandon Peters, true freshman from Avon, Indiana. Before we get to his first series, here's Sue-Ann Roback. Sue-Ann?
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Here with a couple of the former players from the 2000 team that won the Orange Bowl, Aaron Shea, David Terrell. So glad you guys could come over here. How excited are you to be back at Michigan and be here for the spring game?
So excited. Like my wife, we were talking about going to spring break, and I said, you know what, most people go south for spring break. The Shays, we go north. So it's great to see DT and that the whole team, and especially Coach Carr.
Well, the guys were talking up there, John Jansen, mentioning that since Coach Harbaugh has come here, it seems like a lot of the former players are uniting, and we're seeing more of them. You were saying it's different. David, what were you saying about how it is since Coach Harbaugh has been back?
He just he changing everything so well back to the way I think it used to be. He just, you know, I guess he came in and reassessed everything. Now, look, went from Adidas to Jordans, went from this to that. Had a guy like Lil Wayne up here, you know, got all us back here, you know, went back, got Coach Carr back involved in everything that's going on around here. He just found a way to reconnect with everyone that had, from old to new, something to do with the university, and I think it's awesome.
Absolutely. You know what? You said it great right there. You know what? Just bringing back, you know, that winning tradition and just everyone that confidence back in the Michigan program.
The swagger is back. The swagger is back. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, it's back. It's
People
back.
in Ohio, I live in Ohio, and people in Ohio are taking notice what Coach Harbaugh is doing, and I'm just so happy. It just shows the love that Coach Harbaugh has to leave the NFL and to come back and to come back to Michigan.
Guys, I appreciate your time. It was great talking with you.
Thank you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Couple of pros right there. O'Shea played for the Cleveland Browns. David Tyrell for the Chicago Bears.
Aaron Shea is one of my favorite human beings.
Why is that?
He just, honestly, I don't think Aaron's ever seen a bad day. I mean, that's ups and downs when he was here at Michigan, but just loved the game of football, loved the University of Michigan, and it was a tremendous, tremendous teammate.
Peters showing off that big arm down the left sideline, and we got pass interference. It's going to go against Brandon Watson, the junior from Wilmington, Delaware.
Well, Watson's got to understand at some point you can't shield the offensive player. You got to look back for that football. Brandon Peters, I think he would like to have that throw back.
Yeah, threw off his back foot a little bit. But look, this is the future of this club. You got Brandon Peters right here, career over 6,800 yards in high school, Indiana Mr. Football, the Gatorade Player of the Year, a U.S. Army Player of the Year, and Amir Mitchell, the outstanding freshman from New Jersey, wearing 2 in white. That could be a lethal combination for the Wolverines for years to come as Peters works out of the gun. Looking that way again. And incomplete.
Well, they just got to get their timing worked out, and that's just one of those things. Young players, young quarterback, young receiver, you know, they've only had 14 practices together, and you know, coming from 2 different programs, new offenses. So we're going to get a chance to see them grow throughout throughout summer and fall camp, and we'll see what they do next year. But Brandon Peters, in my opinion, has the longest road to hoe, because there are so many things in this Jim Harbaugh offense that he has to pick up, so many nuances that it's tough for a young player. You know, you saw Jake Rudock come in and do it last year, but you're talking about a 5th-year guy. He had 4 years at Iowa.
Right.
And it's tough for a young 18-year-old kid learning football, learning defenses, learning all those things to develop that as you know, at this level.
Especially when you're used to being a starter and excelling at a high level. Last year, this kid threw for 3,100 yards and 37 touchdowns. He is used to being under center, being in that huddle, taking command of it. Now you come here, and the expectations are greater, but so is the competition.
Yeah, and the pressure. The pressure's a lot greater here. I mean, this is the biggest, you know, crowd that he's ever played in front of, and this is just a spring game. Stadium's only half full, but, you know, today, and that's one of the things about a spring game that you get a chance to see, especially with your young players. You get a chance to get down into that depth chart, because you take 100 guys, you split them into 2 groups, and now all of a sudden you're thin at every position, so guys are going to get a lot of reps. You're going to see a lot of Peters. You're going to see a lot of the receivers. You're going to see a lot of Walker out there. So we'll get a chance to see how those guys handle being in the big house, because it's different than it is over at Schembechler Hall.
Peters on a 3rd down and long. Stands tall across the middle, and it's caught. Oh, and then dropped. Tyrone Wheatley Jr. had it for a moment, but couldn't hold on to it. There's another big target, 6'6", 280, the sophomore from Buffalo, New York. You should have seen it, folks. I don't know if you had a chance to. If you saw that catch at Ford Field last weekend, it was a spectacular one-handed grab.
And this is one of those things when you talk about a young quarterback and a young receiver. Tyrone Wheatley Jr. is just going to have to learn which shoulder he needs to turn over, and when he does, and don't give your quarterback any false signals, Brandon Peters has to understand which shoulder that ball is supposed to be thrown at. He has the arm, he has the accuracy, but it has to be on a certain shoulder. It can't be behind him, and that ball was just a little bit behind him.
That could be what you were referring to earlier about the familiarity with one another. Drake Harris, a fair catch at the 11-yard line. Don't forget, at the top of the hour, BTN will be leaving here in Ann Arbor to go live to the Men's Gymnastics Championships. Continued coverage of the Michigan Spring Game will be on BTN to go. But the Big Men Gymnastics Championships is coming up next at the top of the hour. Shane Morris with a second straight series as the signal caller for the blue team. On an out pattern, and it's hauled in at the 14-yard line.
Shane Morris's pass complete.
Laying out, making that grab there is Joe Hewlett, junior from Northville High School.
And they're giving Shane some tough throws to make, and that throw right there has showed touch, showed accuracy.
Poise in the pocket, and a comeback route for Harris. But Drake Harris has looked good, hasn't he, John?
He has. He's running crisp routes. He's coming back to the quarterback after he makes his cuts, and giving the quarterback a good target, a good option to throw to.
A little hurry-up offense for Shane Morris, and he'll run it up the middle. Good speed, good athleticism as he slides close to the 40.
Just like we saw John O'Korn do earlier, he knew where the first down was able to get out, showed good mobility. And then as soon as he got that first down, got down, didn't take a hit.
I agree with your assessment. He looks like he's more in command. A timeout called for the Mays team. He looks like he's just in more control, more sure of himself out there.
Well, yeah, and you know, sometimes guys get more comfortable after year one. Sometimes it's year two. Sometimes it's year three. And Shane Morris, in my opinion, he feels like, all right, this is where I belong. This is what I'm supposed to be doing now, and how I'm supposed to be doing it. He just seems much more comfortable in that quarterback position.
They attend to the injured Wolverine Nick Volk, the backup corner, junior from Frankenmuth High School. And Shane Morris and the blue team will get an opportunity to talk some things over and see what they might be able to do here on a 1st and 10 from their own 38-yard line.
Well, this is one of those.
It's actually Kenny Sloss, sorry.
And this is one of those situations that you can go over them as much as you want in practice, but now you've got 56 seconds left in the second quarter. You're going to go into halftime here. You're tied 7-7. Now you're putting your quarterback, your offensive line, into a situation where you've got you've got one timeout left. You've got to be able to move the ball down the field in a 2-minute situation.
57 seconds remain. And due to previous commitments, BTN will be leaving Ann Arbor to go live to the men's gymnastics championships. Continued coverage of the Michigan spring practice will be on BTN to go, and we invite you to join us there. Enjoy, for those of you leaving us, to the men's gymnastics championships. And we'll see you on BTN to go on the other side. Morris to throw across the middle and incomplete, intended for Ian Bunting.
Morris's pass incomplete, intended for Ian Bunting. There is a penalty flag.
Brings up a 3rd down and 1.5 or so. Usually at this time of the year, John, you would think the defense is ahead of the offense. At practice the other day, I think both of us would concur the defense looked like they were ahead. How would you view this first half of football between the offense and the defense?
Well, on the first 2 drives, I thought both offenses looked crisp. They looked good. The quarterbacks looked good. Offensive line showed good protection. You know, the white team, it took 1 or 2 snaps. They showed some pressure. But other than that, the offenses have looked very efficient. And then, you know, in the second and third drives respectively for both offenses, now the defense is starting to kind of gain their rhythm, and I think they're starting to get a feel for the way Don Brown is going to be calling these defenses.
At the Mays 43 for Shane Morris on a 1st and 10 after the penalty. Kareem Walker is number 6 in blue. Pressure comes. Morris eludes it, throws a home run ball, and incomplete. Intended there for Jack Wangler.
Jack Wangler involved in a trade prior to the game. He was traded for Andrew Robinson. I think one of the teams found out, the Mays team found out that they were short on long snapper. So we had a little pregame trade go on. and Jack Wangler came over to the blue team. But, you know, we talking about the defense and how it seemed like those first drive or two, they struggled a little bit. This is the third defensive coordinator in 3 years that they've had. Last year, DJ Durkin, and the year before, Greg Madison. So it's another system, another defense, another terminology that these guys are trying to learn.
Wangler, good friends with Morris. They played high school football together. That one too high and incomplete. That time Morris intended for Joe Hewlett. It's an interesting point. Of course, Greg Madison's still on staff as the defensive line coach, and he excels no matter what. I just love the way he coaches. DJ Durkin, we wish him well. I know Jim Harbaugh feels really good about the fact that he's now the head coach at the University of Maryland. Did a wonderful job with the defense a year ago. Don Brown will do a wonderful. You know this guy can coach, all right, folks? Not just a football coach. He was the head baseball coach at Yale. He was the interim coach there. And they won. They won big.
And last year at BC, they were the tops in 8 different categories in the country in defense.
Good coverage downfield by Jeremy Clark.
Jeremy Clark in great position on Drake Harris. Now, Drake Harris, at that point, he's got to use that 6'4" frame and go up and get that football. He's got to understand, hey, I got the size advantage on these guys. I have to go up and actually get that football, go and do something for it. Now, Jeremy Clark is a little bit taller than most of your corners.
Yeah.
So a good matchup. Yeah, so a good matchup out there on the edge.
Yeah, there's no height advantage. Both those players 6'4". These corners play up in your face. Morris gets pressure, weaves his way, buys some time. Deep ball again, looking for Wangler, and it is knocked down and picked off. Was it inbounds? Yes, it was. What an interception by DeMonte Thomas.
Plenty of protection. Shane Morris buys himself some time, slides right in the pocket, and basically throws up a jump ball. And at this point, you know, yeah, you want to take a shot at the end zone, but there's still 6 seconds. You still have time for another rep. I don't know that I would want to be throwing up a jump ball up for grabs at that point with downs left in your arsenal.
Listen, that's a great play by Thomas.
DeMonte Thomas is.
I mean, he came a long way from center field to make a running grab like that, off balance, and pulls it down inbounds. That's a really athletic play there.
Very athletic and good read, good feel for, and you talk about ball skills. When a guy has ball skills, he understands where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, and sometimes he'll bait a guy.
Jed Fish is with Suann Roback. Suann?
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. We saw 4 quarterbacks play in that first half. Who impressed you most?
Well, I think that it was nice to see Wilton and John both hit touchdown drives to start, and Brandon got in his first time in the big house, so that was cool to see. And then Shane gave us a nice 2-minute drive. So it was good to watch all 4 of those guys compete, and they're still continue to do that.
What do you want to see from them in the second half?
A couple more touchdown drives. You know, we've had 3 drives and 1 touchdown, so let's see if someone can drive us back down there. And, they get evaluated on touchdown drives, so that's what we're looking for.
Your impressions of the running game so far?
I think we had some good plays there. We've obviously mixed it up a little bit with different backs and different offensive lines, and it's been fun to watch those guys compete, run hard. It's been pretty good.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Still a lot to be decided for both the Blue and the Maize team. It's been a fun night so far. Lloyd Carr is here with his 2000 club. Jabril Peppers has made some plays. Drake Harris has stole the sunlight a little bit, and so has Shane Morris. It's 7-7 between Maize and Blue at halftime on the Big Ten Network and BTN to go. Maize and Blue are tied at 7. Jim Harbaugh welcoming that 2000 team out to midfield, and he's looked at a few guys who have really become top leaders for his club. Jordan Lewis, Jake Butt, and Amara Darboh. He says they are playing like somebody is on their heels. For Darboh, it is not pressure at all. Listen to what he's gone through in his life and the trek that it took him here to Ann Arbor.
Sierra Leone, Africa. A country painstakingly piecing itself back together in the wake of a gruesome civil war. A war that claimed over 50,000 lives and displaced more than 2 million people. Michigan wide receiver Amara Darboh was born into that bloodshed in 1994, losing his mother and father by the age of 2 to the violence.
What went on over there was very tragic. There was a lot of power struggles. I know, like the rebels were invading people's homes, attacking different cities, and just taking over places and killing pretty much anyone in their way.
Destructive. End of the world or something. I don't know. I just don't know how to describe that.
Our sisters and brothers kind of protected us from it. Like every time we walk past dead bodies, you know, like they would start telling us stories and try to distract us from not noticing how bad things were.
It was still a point where Sierra Leone was not a safe place to be, especially as like a younger kid where they could capture you and turn you against your family. I'm very fortunate and blessed that me and my family got the opportunity to leave when we did.
Seeking refuge, Darboh and his relatives traveled by foot over 600 miles from their homes in Freetown, Sierra Leone, to the West African country of Gambia, eventually settling in a refugee camp. After a lengthy stay, when Amara was 7 years old, a Christian group sponsored his family and enabled them to move from Africa to Des Moines, Iowa.
I was scared because I'd never been on a plane and I didn't know where we were going really. I didn't really know what the United States was, and I felt like it was a lot going on at the same time.
We knew America was the place for us to come resettle and be free and go to school and chase dreams and have better opportunities, but yet we never knew how America really looked like.
I felt like I didn't fit in at first. My English wasn't as good as it is now. I remember at elementary school I had like a tough time. I was frustrated a lot.
Kids didn't understand where we came from, so they used to make fun of Amara. He used to get so mad and lose his temper. Every day we'll have to figure a way out to shield all those distractions.
Darboh shielded himself on the athletic fields, where at age 8, his ability earned him a scholarship to the Iowa Beaverdale Little League and an introduction to Max Schaefer.
I met Amara playing Little League baseball at Beaverdale Little League, and he was on my team. He wasn't very good.
I think that was my first or second year playing. He helped me a lot. He was really good, and then I would ask him questions because I'm one of those guys. I'm real competitive.
Max and Amara, there was some bond there that they just became close friends. And next thing you know, Amara was over more and more and more, so it became more of a fixture around the house.
As Amara and Max's friendship grew, the Schaefers were approached by Darboh's older sister Lavetta about legally adopting Amara.
I understood that my brother found a family that can give him the life and the opportunity that he needs, and I was happy.
My wife at the time and we had wanted to have more children, but we were unable to. As soon as he came into our mix, he was such a pleasant kid. Max and he being the same age, being on the same teams all the time, it just felt natural. It felt like he was always supposed to be with us.
I was pumped, obviously. I could actually go out and be like, hey, he's actually my brother.
I'm very thankful for them. They didn't have to do what they did. I wouldn't be where I am at today without them.
The Schaefer family became one of Darboh's biggest supporters at Dowling Catholic High School, where as a freshman, Amara took up a sport he had never seriously played.
He was so raw. In Sierra Leone, football isn't on their radar. Football didn't come naturally to him. He just had great athletic ability, and the rest of it, we were able to coach into him and just use his skills to his fullest.
His name was just blowing all over. Like, hey, man, have you heard about Amara Darboh? Kid is pretty good. I'm like, huh? Really?
started getting offers, and then started seeing that I had the ability to play at the next level.
Scholarship offers began to arrive from college football's blue bloods. Amara selected Michigan.
First down and 10. Rudon throws a quick slant, complete to Darboh, inside the 10 down to the 9-yard line. That's good for 11 and a first down, Michigan.
I would never have thought in a million years I would be in Ann Arbor, Michigan to watch Amara play football. I get way too pumped up. I want to throw the ball to him every time.
What a catch by Darboh!
He wants people to see his talents. He wants people to see what he could bring to the game. Instead of say, oh, there's Amara, he's that boy with that sad story. He wants people to say, this is Amara, one of the best college football players.
Good game, man. Thanks, appreciate it.
How are you doing?
Good, you all right?
Yeah.
Bad things happen to everyone. Everyone goes through tough times, so I try to think about the positives. I never would imagine that I would be here at Michigan or imagine the people that have entered my life.
Amara Darboh no longer has to imagine peace or safety. Instead, he now dreams of touchdowns and victories, not only as a Wolverine, but also as an American. As on September 24th, 2015, Amara became a U.S. citizen.
Here is a refugee from Sierra Leone. Now is an American doing what not a lot of people can do.
In the war, you could literally see people leaving their babies behind. He feels blessed for his life because he could have been one of those babies, one of those kids being left behind.
Well, that was beautifully done. Amara Darboh last year, an honorable mention, all Big Ten selection. He with Jehu Chesson among the best wide receiver combos in all of college football. We're back with more after this. Men's lacrosse action is on BTN tomorrow with Michigan battling Maryland in a Big Ten showdown. Coverage starts at 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on BTN and BTN to go. John Paul and the Michigan lacrosse team hoping to get a much-needed victory there against the 6th-ranked team in the country. Welcome back to the Big House. Welcome back to the annual spring game on a Friday night. What are your thoughts on the Friday night aspect? Last year was on a Saturday afternoon. Jim Harbaugh's done a lot of different things, unique things in his one-year tenure so far.
Changing the date, changing the night of the spring game should probably be the least surprising of what he's done. But I like the atmosphere here, and we're about to turn the lights on and play under the Friday night lights. So it's a fun atmosphere for these kids to be in.
You talked about some of the freshmen and trying to get used to the crowd. Brandon Peters specifically, now getting used to the lights as well. Peters, one of the quarterbacks who's played in this game. What's your assessment at that position that seems to be the most wide open we've seen in a long time here?
Yeah, and so far I like the way these guys are playing. John O'Korn came out and did very well, moved the ball down the field. He hits Drake Harris on the sideline for a big gainer, was very accurate, made good decisions. I thought Shane Morris did a good job of being in the right place at the right time and getting his number called and delivering the ball to Drake Johnson there in the end zone. And we talked about how hard it is to hit a wide open receiver and to catch that ball. So I thought, for the most part, they made very good decisions. They were very accurate and were able to move down and get first downs. And hopefully in the second half we'll see some bigger chunks.
And it's always a good idea if you're a quarterback in this Michigan offense to take a look at the tight end spot. Will Spate connecting there with Jake Button. Here's how they've done so far. Shane Morris has thrown the most passes, John O'Korn for the most yards, but it's Morris and Spate each with a touchdown. And what an interception to end the half against Morris as he went deep for it all.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate that he threw that ball up just as a jump ball, but hey, those things happen. He's trying to make something happen, and he'll learn from that. And fortunately, this game right now, well, it means something in terms of positions and where you fall on the depth chart. It doesn't mean anything for our record next year.
The quarterbacks and everybody playing here on this Friday night are trying to impress that man, their head coach, their boss, Jim Harbaugh. More to come when we return after this. Stay with us. Maize 7, Blue 7. Couple of touchdown passes in this one. The defense has ruled the roost early on. Earlier today, Michigan announced a new athletic director earlier this year. Ward Manuel officially took over March 14th, and it has been, I would guess, a whirlwind. He got his old number from one of his old teammates, Jim Harbaugh. Welcome back to the booth, and Ward Manuel joins us now, the athletic director. And I asked this of Jim Harbaugh when you first took over at the press conference. I said, this may sound a little corny, but are you proud of him? And he said, that's not corny at all. Absolutely, I'm proud of him. I would ask you the same thing for your head coach. Are you proud of what he's been able to do so far in his short period here?
Absolutely. I loved when he was hired. Loved what he and the team and the coaching staff did last year. Very proud of him. But as I was telling somebody earlier today, you know, I've watched his career over the years when he was starting at Stanford in particular and then in the 49ers, and I've always been proud of him. And we always have, I think, a deep, abiding pride of all the guys who have come back. I'm sitting next to someone else that I was proud to watch and proud to see what he did professionally, proud to see what he's doing now. So, you know, we have that family, and it means a lot.
Ward, you talk about the family and the pride that we have in coming back to Michigan. What did it mean for you to finally sit in that chair and be back here in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, it means a lot, and to be back here is something that I've thought a lot about over the career, never knowing I would come back. But it takes a lot of pride to be back here and love to be a part of it and be good.
Well, I thought your speech when you took over, when you were announced, was fantastic. You thanked the good folks at UConn. You mentioned a number of different coaches, and you've been busy. I mean, you went to the NCAA tournament for Red Berenson and the hockey team. You were in Dayton for the play-in game, and then we saw you in Brooklyn for John Beilein and the Wolverines against Notre Dame. Have you had a chance to settle in and kind of, you know, plant some roots here, if you will?
Not really, not yet. I mean, my wife came in today, and she got in this morning. She's been already house hunting. I'm going out with her and our real estate agent tomorrow with the option of sort of making a decision. I don't think I have much option, but she's making that illusion, make me feel pretty good about that illusion that I'll have some say. But I'm settling in the department and really having a good opportunity to get to know the staff and the coaches and to meet the student athletes and get a chance to talk to them. And it's really been good from that standpoint.
To recognize John Jansen when you first saw him, he's lost a ton of weight, about 60 pounds.
I know, I got to get on his program. I was doing much better when I was on radio with Jim and and Dan. I mean, look, I felt better about myself now. I got to come over here with him.
Hey, you know, you talk about, you know, being home and the challenges of moving here. You know, you got to find a home and all those things. What are some of the challenges that you see coming in the next year or even just the next 6 months? I know we're switching over to Nike.
Right.
And I'll finish. I'll ask you that one first, and then the last one I want to ask you is, what challenges do you see ahead of getting Notre Dame back on the schedule?
Well, the Nike one is a much easier question. Thank you for giving me that one first. August 1st, officially, we'll become a Nike school again. We're very proud of what Adidas has done for us over the years. And looking forward to August 1st when we become a Nike school. And we'll. I don't know all the elements of the celebration and announcement, but learning a little bit here and there, and then I'll learn a lot more as we get closer what the staff is doing and what Nike is doing with that. On the Notre Dame piece, I mean, I'm very open, you know, to that, to bringing back that rivalry again and playing them. I think, you know, I know in my 4 years, I think in your 4 years, we played them
twice.
Yeah, and so. For me, I think, you know, it's a rivalry that is good for the game of football. It's good for Michigan, good for Notre Dame, and one that, you know, we'll see, we'll work at, we'll have conversation. And Jack Swarbrick and I have known each other for a while, and look forward to seeing if there's something we can do in the future.
You've obviously started your Michigan student athletic career as a football player and then went to track. What was your take on the football play in the first half? And you've been at some practices, I would guess, to take a look at the different bodies that Jim Harbaugh has brought in and that they've formed. It's much more Michigan-like than it was a few years ago, don't you think?
It is, yeah. I mean, you know, I've been at a couple of practices and really toward the end and met some of the team. Jim asked me to speak and say a few words to the team, which was great. Got a chance to do that and meet some of the guys. You know, nowadays, you know, I can't speak for John. I know in my day, we didn't come in looking like we were ready to play.
Not at all. We showed a picture earlier. I looked like I was 4 years old.
Right, exactly. I mean, I was all, you know, out of shape a little bit and not ready to walk in. I mean, these kids walk in and they're muscular. They've been working out. I mean, they really do train well. And so to see the kids they're bringing in, to see the quality of the kids that they're bringing in is pretty special. So.
Well, you know, and you talk about the kids when they come in, you know, they're training differently, they're eating differently, and you know, in terms of what they're doing on the practice field, how much do you see like Michigan going down to the IMG facilities, Michigan holding coaching clinics, the clinics that they're going to have this summer, the practices and the satellite camps? You know, Jim Harbaugh is trying to spread the word of football, and not necessarily just the word of football, but it's a trickle-down effect. You know, what we do here at Michigan, the coaches want to emulate and simulate, and in terms of how much impact do you see that he has on high school coaches and the way that they are coaching younger players that we're then again trying to recruit?
Yeah, I think it makes a significant impact, and I think, you know, some of the creativity that Jim's bringing to the recruiting trail, some of the creativity he's bringing to the training and what our student athletes are doing are extremely positive. And I think as you've seen things die down a little bit, other coaches are really looking at it for what it is. It's some quality ideas, some things that really help a football team develop. I just enjoy it in what he's doing to elevate the game. So the summer camps and the summer swarm and the things that he's doing to really help kids develop their talent, I think it gets them exciting. It gets them to develop. It gets us an opportunity to take a look at them. It exposes them to more than just the coaches in that region. I think, you know, that's good for those kids. It's good for us, and it's a win-win in many ways. And so I like the ideas that he's bringing. We'll see how well those are liked around the country as the different rules try to be developed, and hopefully calmer minds will prevail and really see it for what the benefit that it brings to both.
When the phone rings, especially with caller ID now, and it says Jim Harbaugh, do you look at it and say, what now? What could this possibly be?
No, not yet. I mean, it's, you know, we've had great conversations, man. I look forward to working with him. It's really been extremely positive from my side, and you know, I enjoy working with Jim. And we haven't, and I don't anticipate ever getting to that point. I mean, you know, what better way? I'd rather have my coaches. It's better when I've learned as an AD, it's better when your coaches want to talk to you than when they don't want to talk to you. And so I'll never look at a phone and have that thought. It's all to try to help him, our other coaches, our other programs be very successful, and in any way I can help, they know I'm going to be there for them.
Well, it's interesting because you made some significant hires at UConn. Kevin Ollie, for example, won a national championship. Here, it's a little bit more stable. You know, with Harbaugh already here, John Beilein, Kim Barnes-Arico, Red Berenson, Eric Bakich, Coach Hutch, who you talked about when you first took the job. How has that changed your direction and your maybe what your priorities and what you're supposed to do in your office?
Well, I really love the stability. I mean, it's you know, I'm not I need to hire my coach kind of AD. I mean, I love stability. I love that history. I was here working with them before, some of them, and now working with other coaches. I'm not coming in looking to change for change's sake. I mean, I think you have success. You have great coaches here. We have great student athletes, great staff, and I'm just trying to evaluate, understand where everything is right now, any tweaks and changes I'm going to make down the line. But ultimately, the stability is great for me. It allows me to free up to really get to know people well, to be able to make decisions without having to be rushed into them because of instability.
We know a lot of people are tugging at your time. We appreciate it very much. It's great to have you home.
No, this is awesome. It's great to be back. Thanks to everyone.
I feel really small, by the way. Not that I didn't already, but 2 offensive linemen, you can only imagine. Ward Manuel joining us here on Big Ten Network.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so John Jansen, we've missed a few plays here, but it's not that big of a deal. We haven't missed a touchdown. Folks have been able to see it, and we know that the Maize team has been able to move its way inside, close to the red zone anyway, and it's that red zone that was effective for Michigan a year ago. Last year, Michigan's offense was 7th in the nation in red zone efficiency. 93%, folks. They went 52 of 56 with 2 kneel downs. That is getting it done. Will Speight will operate on a 3rd down and 10. Across the middle, and he throws, and it's caught by Tyrone Wheatley Jr. Knocked off his pegs at the 12-yard line. Should be enough for a Mays first down. I love the target of Tyrone Wheatley Jr. He is a big kid, but he's an athletic kid. More than just a blocker. Don't be fooled by the size of 6'6", 280. He can haul it in. His dad, one of the greatest Wolverines ever, and I would argue one of the greatest athletes the state of Michigan has ever produced. His father, now a coach on Jim Harbaugh's staff, has coached at the collegiate and professional level, but he was as good, if not better, a track star than he was in football. Feeling his way up the middle is Kingston Davis. Now there's a freshman that we could have talked about a little bit ago. So much hype about Kareem Walker, the #1 running back of the country. This kid right here from Prattville, Alabama, last year rushed for over 1,600 yards, averaged almost 7 yards per touch, and was one of the top 15 prospects in the state. He is a guy who will vie for some time in that offensive backfield. Good play action. Speight's got a clear path, and he will score to put the Mays in front.
And one of the things when we get to this replay that I want you to watch the receiver. Wilton Speight does a great job faking. And then watch number 2, young Kareem Walker. That is going to get him on the field this fall. If he is blocking like that for his quarterback, it doesn't matter who has the ball. If you can get blocking from your receiver, that's what scores touchdowns. That's what turns 3 or 4 yard runs into 80 and 90-yard touchdown runs.
Well, you talked about it earlier in the first half. You said if you're a wide receiver, you're going to have to be able to block in this offense. Amir Mitchell did just that. He's a guy who goes downfield and helped the offense score 6 right there. There are different ways you can help your team. It doesn't always mean that you got to haul in a pass. It could be on a block, and Mitchell did it really well there.
Yeah, great by a young player going out there doing what coaches ask him to do. And Wilton Speight, great job moving the ball down the field and getting his team into the red zone, getting in good position to score, and then following through on that fake, which sold the whole defense on it. They bit hard, and he was out there basically with nobody to even looking at him.
So the Mays sees the lead for the first time.
Wilton Speight getting a chance to go over there, talk to his O-lineman and his safety valve, Jake Butt.
Offense with so much potential. The offensive line is the various individuals that we've been watching. They've been able to pull. The guards have been able to get out and pull. They've have to have athleticism there, and the big guys, the bookends on each side. You used to play right tackle, and then later in your NFL career, actually took a little bit of time at center and guard as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of difference in those positions, and that's what one of those things that Mason Cole is working on. We're going to get a chance to see him as the Mays next time the Mays takes the field again. But your perspective of an offense, and especially of the defense, when you're at center or you're at guard, things are tight. Things are happening in a closet. When you're out at tackle, you're in your own world. You're in your own universe, and you either win or lose a lot of times on your own technique in your own space. And then all of a sudden you move inside and things get real tight. You've got sideboards, and the challenges are a little bit different. But Mason, having seen him progress throughout the spring, I think has done a good job of taking that space that is limited to him inside there, and the time that he has on with his hand on the ball and locating defensive players and getting his guys going in the right direction.
Alex Malzone connects here. Big play made by the Blue offense to start this third quarter drive to try and get an answer, and it's again a tight end, Ian Bunting, on the receiving end of that quick toss across the middle. A little drag route from Alex Malzone.
Tight ends are going to be a huge part of this offense. We've been preaching it all day long. And he just gets lost in the shuffle there. And nice little rub route. Comes out the other side, and Alex Malzone just puts the ball on him. Not a hard pass, but one of those passes where if you throw it behind him, it's an incomplete pass. And right there, it puts the ball right on him in stride, and that's a big gainer. So great job by Alex Malzone.
49-yard pitch and catch, the longest offensive play of the day. Walker squeezed his way through. Oh, what a tough run to get to the 15-yard line. That is a freshman, but he ran like a man on that play right there.
And that's what you want to see from your running backs. You want to see nice, hard, tough runs. And when you get to the sideline, don't look to get out of bounds. Look to run somebody over, and that's what he does right there. What a great message to send to your coach at this point of the season.
5-star recruit out of Wayne, New Jersey. Played his high school ball at Paul Catholic. Two-time All-Stater there. 6'1", 210, and built. Second down and 3 for the Blue. Looking for an answer. Walker again. Nice cutback to lunge to about the 12-yard line, maybe a yard shy. Two touchdowns scored in the opening half, one touchdown scored in the third quarter. But Kareem Walker, Ian Bunting, Alex Malzone, and the Blue offense are on the march to try and tie it up when we start the fourth. Bays took their first lead in the game moments ago on the Wilton Spate. Beautiful play action. Quarterback boot for a touchdown to make it. The Bays team in front by 7. Alex Malzone tries to direct the Blue team to the answering touchdown. Bunting on the reception there. Our United States Marine Corps leader is the man taking selfies on the field. Amara Darboh, 58 rocks a year ago, 5 touchdowns, honorable mention All Big Ten. In his career, over 1,200 yards and 7 TDs. And going into the season, when Michigan opens up the year against Hawaii here at the Big House on September 3rd, he will have had a reception in 23 of his previous 25 games. (14-7) Mays.
Mo Hurst got dinged at the end of that play with a little unsportsmanlike conduct. Not something you want to see in a spring game, but these guys have been at each other's throats for the last 14 practices, so not necessarily unexpected.
I was going to say, Malzone across the middle, intended for Michael Jose, incomplete. Malzone, a sophomore from Farmington Hills.
Malzone is, and right there, good job by the defender, being in good position, getting good contact at the when the ball was in the air, when the ball got there. But Malzone, if he just puts that ball a little bit more outside, that could be a completed pass for a touchdown.
Not a whole lot of running room there. Chase Winovich in on the tackle for the Mays team. He's been really good so far during this spring. Don Brown said as much. Let's welcome in Suann Roback. Suann?
Thanks a lot, guys. Here with Devin Funchess, I have to tell you, he's getting more cheers than anyone else that I've heard so far. The fans love you. What has it been like for you being back here in Ann Arbor?
I mean, it's just like coming back home, man. The atmosphere is great. Everybody at the spring game is just having fun. You know, first night spring game out there in any college program, so everything's been fun. And
you're actually watching a lot of this game, paying close attention. Who's making early impressions on you?
Yeah, all the young guys. You know, I saw Mo Hurts. He's out there. He's an old guy now, but he's younger than me. Wilton's out there. Ty Isaac. Ian Bunting, he had the longest catch of the game. Devin Bush, he's out there making hits. So everybody's just out there doing their thing.
How does playing in the big house compare to playing in the Super Bowl in your rookie season?
I mean, I was telling everybody, I mean, yeah, it's a big stage, but I played in the biggest house in the nation, you know. So big house, it had me prepared for it, and it felt like at home.
It's fun watching you in the Super Bowl, and I appreciate your time today. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Really good season for Devin Funchess, especially when Cam Newton lost one of his key receivers. And Funchess for the Carolina Panthers last year, winning an NFC championship and having 31 catches, almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. What an experience that must have been for him. Jim Harbaugh, of course, coached in a Super Bowl. It's a 4th and 6 for his blue team that trails 14-7 for the first time today. From the diamond to the field and everywhere else in between. We keep you up to date on all the happenings in the conference. It's This Week in the Big Ten. It's Sundays at 6 Eastern, only on Big Ten Network.
Well, we were in this same position earlier in the day, not necessarily 4th down in the red zone, but we did see a little trickeration. Matt, do you think we'll see a little bit of that same style down here? I mean, they haven't been able to, they've been inside the 10-yard line, and they haven't gained anything in the last 3 plays.
Well, I wonder what they may do. Drake Harris is a big target. I wonder if they might throw a jump ball-like play here. Kareem Walker, last time you and I watched this play, you had motioned to me, number 6, scooting out of the backfield. So let's see, they might have man coverage. They've got Drake Harris going in motion, see if they look his way. That's where they were going. Instead, it's a quarterback keeper up the middle, and he's going to be stopped short at the 4-yard line. Hurst back in there, big number 73 in white, helping stifle it, along with Lawrence Marshall and Chase Winovich.
Well, one of the things I'd like to see from Alex Malzone is, yeah, you don't want to necessarily throw an interception down here, because if you throw one in the end zone, it comes back out to the 20, but you got to give yourself a chance to get in the end zone. The only way you get a first down, the only way you score is to score a touchdown. If you don't, the ball's turned over on down. So give yourself a chance, just like, you know, we saw John O'Korn earlier run for that first down, get down to the sticks. Throw that ball up and put it in a place where you know only your teammate can get it. And if they don't, yeah, you know, you don't lose anything. They get the ball in the 6 instead of the 3. But you give yourself a chance to get in the end zone.
You like this experience, too, for Brandon Peters. Shadow of his own goal line, backed up deep, forced to take his team out of it. And they start on the ground with Ty Isaac, the transfer from USC a year ago. Played in only 7 games, only 30 carries, but has come in much better shape. Looks a lot more svelte and a lot quicker.
He does, and is running a lot harder. And you know, when you look at him at practice and you see just the way that he carries himself out there and his attitude. You know, last year it was just frustrating to see. You know, he just didn't seem to be in it. He wasn't getting it. He wasn't buying into Coach Harbaugh's system and what Coach Harbaugh was asking him to do. Now all of a sudden it seems like the light bulb went on, and he seems to get it. He looks better. He's playing better.
Paul Schmidt is taking Alex Malzone into the Michigan locker room, by the way. He was clinching his right hand. There's pressure on Peters, and he gets away from it twice. That's a pretty nice play right there. It'll go down as a no gain, but easily could have been a safety, not once but twice.
It is, and one of the things that I know that the coaches are going to be talking to him about is, you see him lift the ball up there. It's so easy for that ball to slip out of your hand. Sometimes it's better to take a safety than to fumble that football in the end zone. And those are all little lessons that you know, these guys will learn throughout while they're doing it. But don't handle that ball like a loaf of bread in the end zone. The most important thing a quarterback can do is secure that football, whether it's delivering it to an open receiver or taking a sack or making the decision, even though it's a tough one, to take a safety, but don't let that ball go.
Matt Godin and Jordan Glasgow putting the pressure on. Here's a bounce to the outside for Isaac, who's run really well on this Friday night to pick up a key first down.
I like the fact that Ty Isaac, we saw him get up and limp a little bit after that last play, and I think a year ago he might have taken himself out, and here all of a sudden you see him get back out there and runs hard to the outside, runs a player over, gets the first down, and is back in the huddle for another go.
Mike Wroblewski dragged him down. There's Robleski right there, who, if you were with us earlier, Don Brown mentioned to Sue Ann Robeck before the game how he's improved. The senior from St. Clair Shores, played his high school ball at University of Detroit Jesuit. Peters on a play action. Good pocket across the middle. He's got a man. It's caught and lowering the boom and getting another first down. Zach Gentry. You want a big target, folks? That's it. 6'7", 244. The sophomore from Albuquerque, New Mexico, who is a 3-year starting quarterback, has really good hands.
Good protection by the offensive line. New left tackle in there. And Zach Gentry used to be a quarterback. You know, there used to be a guy named Jay Ramirzma who made a pretty good transition from quarterback to tight end. And I think Zach is much along the same lines. He's a big target. And one of the things that you get from a quarterback that moves to another position is the fact that they understand the game in a little bit of a different way. And he can get open. He can understand defenses a little bit better, or at least he gets there faster than somebody else does.
Sidearm spin. Peters to Perry for another first down and into blue territory. That's a tough throw right there on the run, but he made it look easy.
We saw Perry against Utah last year. That's almost the same route that he ran and shaved it off a little bit early in that game. It ended up being a pick six. That time he runs the route right, and that's a development that you see from year to year, game to game. These young guys get a chance to make.
Amir Mitchell is split wide to the left. He's the freshman who wears number 2 in white. Nothing doing on the ground there for Kingston Davis. Just a quick thought on Zach Gentry again. Sometimes it's difficult to move that position. You mentioned Jay Ramirzma, who ended up being a pro at the next level, primarily with the Buffalo Bills. Gentry doesn't mind the move. Many people would think, boy, you're going there as a quarterback. It hurts your pride a little bit. He encouraged the move. He wants to play football. You can play more than one tight end. You can only play the one quarterback.
Right, and I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a freshman, you saw it there. I was number 85. I was a tight end. I moved to tackle, and I had a conversation with our coach at the time, Gary Moeller, and he said, hey, you can be one of 4 or 5 tight ends and rotate in there and you'll play, or you have a chance next year to start at offensive tackle. I said, just tell me how I'm going to get on the field first. That's where I want to be, and that's the same thing Zach did. He's like, if I can get on the field as a freshman or as a second-year player, I just want to be on the field, contribute to the team. I want to play in the big house.
Really nice play on that last sweep on Perry. Devin Bush, the freshman from Pembroke Pines, Florida, made the play. He wears 10 in blue, coached by his father in high school, helped his dad win a state championship there in Florida, and last year 167 tackles. If the name sounds familiar, it's because his dad played at Florida State and won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Here's Peters, deep drop and a little screen set up for Isaac. The blue defense sniffed it out, but Isaac made a couple of wiggles to get back to midfield.
Getting back to Devin Bush, I think he is in a great position to have the opportunity to go in there and play right away, because we've talked about, we've got a good secondary, we've got a good defensive front. The question mark for this defense is going to be linebacker. There are open slots, and it doesn't matter in this Jim Harbaugh competition style of performance. It doesn't matter if you're a walk-on, if you're a scholarship player, if you're a freshman, or if you're a fifth-year senior. If you're the best person for that spot and you're the best person on that day, then you're going to play.
Not a real big guy at 5'11", 2 1/4, but he makes plays. And the guy right next to him, right there, number 2 in blue, Carlo Kemp, another really good-looking freshman, 6'3", 250. You'll see his hands in the dirt a little bit. He's an early admission here to Michigan as well, from Boulder, Colorado. The nephew of Chuck and John Pagano in the NFL. Chuck Pagano, of course, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and just signed a new deal in the offseason.
And part of the reason these guys can come in and play is because they understand football. They grew up. Devin's dad was a football player. Chuck Pagano and the Paganos, there's coaches throughout that whole family. So they grew up around football. They understand football. They understand what they have to do. And you know, it's easier for some of these kids who come from that background to step in and play right away.
Yeah, because they've been thinking it all their lives. Drake Harris with the fair catch at the 15. The Blue called the timeout because they trail by 7. So they want to be able to play catch up here as Carlo Kemp and the defense did their job, and now it's up to the Blue team offense to do theirs. They'll be led by John O'Korn. Well, men's lacrosse action is on BTN tomorrow with Michigan battling Maryland. Coverage starts at 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on BTN and BTN to go. Terps 6th in the country. Big Ten has got some really good lacrosse, folks. Penn State's really good. They had an upset of Denver earlier this year. Maryland's really good. Johns Hopkins is really good. All right, let's see what John O'Korn can do. He started for the Blue, led him on a touchdown drive, and can work sort of a 2-minute drill here. He wants to go up top, and it is caught shy of the 40 and rolling down. Jack Wangler hauled it in. What a grab by the senior from Royal Oak at De La Salle High School.
John O'Korn showing great touch, great accuracy, and Jack Wangler just, honestly, that's just one of those plays where you just got to go up and make a play. And Jack Wangler, son of former Wolverine John Wangler.
Yeah, John played here 1977 through 1980. His brother, Jared, is a linebacker, but he's hurt today. And his sister, Hallie, plays on the basketball team.
Very athletic family.
Yeah.
Great family.
True blue, that's for sure. That's just a playmaker. When you go up and get a ball like that,
yep,
that is just wanting it more than the other guy, isn't it?
And as a fifth-year guy, he knows that his time is running out. He's got to make something happen now.
O'Korn scrambling from the pocket up the middle. Gets to the 50 and close to a first down. Dragged down by Mike McCray. McCray, we've called his name a number of times. 9 and white.
So we saw John O'Korn start the day off with a great drive, getting first downs, and he has done nothing but do the same here at the end of the game.
Shane Morris is in the slot. O'Korn looks that way. Scrambles again away from pressure. Throws on the run. Wangler's got there now, but he couldn't haul it in. He was open, but couldn't pull it in at the 20-yard line and wishes he had that one back.
Well, I bet you he does, because it's John O'Korn did a great job of buying time, and when you see a quarterback get on the run, you're always curious as to what he's looking at, and Wangler did a great job of continuing his route, and all he has to do is finish the play.
That's familiarity again. O'Korn scrambling from the pocket. Wangler might have thought there was been, because he's run an awful lot today, O'Korn has. Maybe Wangler stopped the route for a moment. 2nd down and 10. O'Korn again using his legs. Driving down to about the 42-yard line. A little shy of the first down. It'll bring up 3rd down and short with 1 away to go. He picked up 7 and a timeout for the blue team. Don Brown, the head coach of the white team, telling his guys to come over and let's stifle them here. Jed Fish is talking things over with John O'Korn.
We'll see what Jed Fish has up his sleeve here. I really like the fact that John O'Korn has made good decisions. He's been out on the run, and he's been able to throw it and find open receivers. Whether they've been completed or not, he's made good decisions. And we've also seen him get on the run, tuck it and run, and make good decisions by not throwing the football.
I love his attitude, though, John. He's a real competitive guy. Tim Drevno told us this earlier in the week. He said, look, they all want to start, but a great quarterback room is what we have right now. They're going to back whoever wins the competition. That's really good to know from a coordinator standpoint.
Well, it's good to know, and from a teammate standpoint as well, and from a competitive standpoint, you don't know. You're one play away from being in the game. And you know, if O'Korn starts the season, whoever starts the season, he may last one play, he may last all 12 games. You don't know. And all of a sudden, you have to be ready. If you're that backup, if you're number 2, if you're number 3, you're in the game. And if you've got a bad attitude and you're not supporting the starter, you're not learning, you're not understanding the offense, you're not getting the most out of those meeting minutes.
O'Korn throws on a curl route, knocked down and incomplete. Nice play by Jeremy Clark again. We've talked about him an awful lot tonight because of the plays that he's made. Last year in 13 games, 7 starts. He had 6 pass breakups and led this team with 3 picks. Grandfather played football at Oklahoma State. And forces a 4th down and 5 now for the blue team. Throw route to Wangler. Should be enough for the first down. Got to the 39 before driven backwards. It'll stop the clock with 58 seconds remaining.
Nice job by Jack of knowing the yardage he had to get to. He ran the route exactly how deep he had to, and great delivery by John O'Korn. If that ball is late, it's probably batted down. If it's early, he's not ready for it. He's not at the right depth.
O'Korn scrambling, throwing, and incomplete. Intended for Ian Bunting.
He got a little tied up with the defender on his cut out of the at the middle of the field there, and just couldn't get his legs underneath him. But I like how Ian's played so far today. He's made some catches, and he's played well.
Shane Morris with a touchdown pass. Wilton Spate with a touchdown pass and run. A's team in front by 7 with 51 seconds remaining. O'Korn brings Drake Harris in motion. Looks that way, wide open. Shane Morris outside the numbers, inside the 20, and dances his way inside the 15. Somebody blew a coverage. Morris was wide open.
Somebody blew a coverage, but I tell you what, you don't want to get shaken by a quarterback at the end of that route. Little shake and bake. That shake and bake wasn't going to fake anybody out.
Doesn't matter. He did his job. He got inside the 15. He used his athleticism. Here's O'Korn again. Couple of checkdowns. Now throwing for the corner, throwing it away. That might be one of the best plays. And there's a late flag. It's going to go against Chase Winovich.
There is a penalty flag on the field.
It's unnecessary. That was great pass protection.
Or is that against Lawrence Marshall? I don't want to make sure. I don't want to call it on a guy who doesn't deserve it. They were both after O'Korn. Marshall's got a good burst off the edge. Winovich, as Don Brown had talked about earlier in the week, has impressed. Coming off the edge, it adds to the depth of that defensive front four. Sets up a 1st and goal. Good play action. O'Korn rolling. Has some room to run. Instead throws, and it is incomplete, intended for Drake Harris. He had 2 wide receivers, Harris and Wangler, in the same vicinity.
Well, I like the fact that they had good protection on that play before. They were able to get time in the pocket, and then this time they go ahead with the play action pass and roll him out of the pocket, get him out there where there's nobody else out there, and he has time to set up and throw. It's just not a completed pass, but a great job by Jedd Fisch of switching things up and the launch point of that quarterback.
Walker, the lone tailback, with 23 seconds remaining. 2nd and goal for the Blue. Good protection. O'Korn scanning and then incomplete. Used 7 seconds.
Well, and that's one of those times where, okay, John O'Korn has made great decisions throughout this whole day, and now all of a sudden he gets a little bit under pressure and he gets hit while he's trying to jump up and throw the ball off of his back foot. That could have turned into a game ender for him. Luckily, it hit the ground and it's incomplete, but that's one of those things where, hey, when it comes down to it, this is where games are won and lost. You got to make good decisions every time that you have the ball in your hand.
And remember this, a 3rd down and goal from the 6. You do have time for a 4th down if need be. Weaving his way. O'Korn for the end zone. Diving for the score.
Sure what the rule is about overtime in a spring game, but I think you have to go for 2. Great job by O'Korn. Little fake there, trying to just buy himself a little time, get the defender to commit. He cuts back, gets the ball out there, and gets across the goal line. Great play by John O'Korn.
Jedd Fisch and the Blue, I think, are going to go for 2 here, John.
Good decision.
To try and win it, yeah. You don't want to play for a tie in a spring game or any game.
In it to win it.
Don Brown says, I'm going to take a timeout, okay? I want to talk to my defense. Roughly 35,000 here in attendance. And there's the timeout. So this is a team that went 10-3 a year ago, 6-10 in Big Ten play. They beat 3 top 25 clubs. They finished 11th in the country, but you and I would both agree they seem to be a deeper team and a more experienced team. What's your expectations? And I know we still have some answers or some questions that need to be answered, but the expectations of this club, I think, are high, and rightfully so, don't you?
They are, yeah, and I expect them to be competing for a Big Ten championship. I expect them, the first 5 games next year are at home. And there's a chance that they could be 5-0 before they even leave the friendly confines here of the Big House. So it'll be interesting to see, as they develop over the summer and they get into fall camp, the development of the quarterbacks, development of the linebackers, and the development of that depth, because sooner or later somebody's going to be hurt. I'm surprised to see even Shane Morris right now, they got him lined up at receiver.
Yep, and Drake Harris, man-to-man on the left side. Walker, the lone tailback. White might have jumped. And I believe that penalty is encroachment against the Mays Club.
Well, John O'Corn, the second time today that he's used the cadence to his advantage. He did it earlier on a 4th down, was able to pick up a free 5. And there, if there's no contact made and they get that ball snapped, that's a free play for him. So and not only that, but by snapping that ball and getting the defense to jump offside, he has made them show the blitz and the pressure that they're going to be bringing.
Harris split to the right, double tight for Michigan up front. I formation behind O'Corn. They give it to the fullback. Did he get in? He did not. He was stuffed. And the white team owns bragging rights.
Is there any review in the spring game? We got a couple of questions here.
No,
I don't even think he got close. Interesting, they would hand it off to Pogge.
He really didn't come close, buddy.
That was that quick handoff to the fullback we saw used so well last year with Siona Huma.
Yeah, he was fantastic at that. So was the inside of that offensive line. So the white team, Jake Butt and company, earned bragging rights. And this was, believe it or not, folks, I mean, at practice earlier this week, this is a big deal. They did not practice together, but probably, if you're looking at from 2:30 to 6:30, the last hour and change was separate. They did not want, and by the way, they did not want to film either practice. They didn't want the opportunity to even take a look at it.
Well, they're reviewing it. The ultimate reviewer, the one in khaki pants, is reviewing it on the big screen.
He's going to make this call. It's an easy call. Lucky for him, it's an easy call.
He's got some lobbyists down there. Will Spate for the Mays team is letting him know what he saw, and there's about 20 of the blue team.
Well, if they saw this angle, they wouldn't take this long. There you go. And Will Spate, Jake Butt, Mason Cole, and the rest of the Mays team can celebrate the rest of the weekend and own those bragging rights they desperately wanted.
Anytime you take the field, you take the field to win.
Graham Glasgow comes back. We've seen a lot of people come back and talk to the coaches and express their enthusiasm and excitement for this year's team, haven't we?
Yeah, it's great to see, guys that just graduated. It's great to see guys that have been back for, have left for 40 years. And today what we learned is that we've got some good options at quarterback. We've got some good options at running back. Now what I want to see is, I need to see that defense step up. They were 10-3 last year because of the defense. And where was that today?
That's going to do it from Michigan Stadium. The score, the Maize team wins it 14-13 in a really competitive matchup. You'll be able to watch the Maize and Blues spring game in its entirety tonight on Big Ten Network at 9:30. So for my partner, John Jansen, Sue Ann Roback, and our entire Big Ten Network crew, I'm Matt Shepard saying so long from Ann Arbor. More football from Michigan, not until September 3rd when they open with Hawaii. Have a great weekend, everybody.